people out of the state.
Yep.
And bring new people.
All right. It is 5:15 PM, February 17th, 2025. Call the North Hero Select Board to order. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Right, approve bills for payment. We have a financial snapshot.
I just want to point out that the Stride Creative Group, 50% deposit, Mike came in and said, you guys approved that at the North Station
Correct.
meeting the other day, so that's on the warrant.
That is on the warrant here? Oh,
Yeah, so we went with the 5280, it was 4785 to 5280, so we did 50% of the 5280 at 2640.
okay,
So that is included on that.
okay,
Coming out of the fire station.
yep. Perfect.
Where's the marketing? It's a marketing kit?
It's a marketing kit for the fire department.
Okay.
And
So. Yeah.
it's a package here that they put together so that for fundraising and whatever. And that's why it's
Okay.
coming out of the fire department side. And then things can be added to it, you know, as we go along. It's also beneficial there as far as if there's any grants there that come up and whatever. So,
Okay.
okay. Any other discussion on that part? Anyone? Okay. We have the warrants.
Make a motion to approve the warrant.
We have a motion to approve the warrant. Do I have a second?
Second.
Player seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor of moving the warrant? Yes, say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. You'll have to bear with me, people. I'm a little on the tired side. Okay. There's an opportunity there for public comment. Is there any public comment there that we can take up for, potentially take up for future select board meetings? Hearing none. Andy Alling, I believe you're up there. It's Water Board. It's to approve the Aldrich and Elliott engineering contract for US Week 2 water line replacement. And if you'll give us a brief synopsis of.
The bad news is the agreement is no shorter than the last one you looked at. But it's a widely accepted document.
But the timeline has changed, right?
You're right, no, I'm talking about the length of the document.
Oh, well, yeah, that's, yeah.
The timeline has been reduced by about a month, so the end of the design effort basically coincides with when we plan to have the water tank all done.
Okay.
And the designated representative has been changed from me to Brian McCarthy.
Okay, and that.
Water board approved it the other night, so.
Yeah.
we recommend the select board approve it.
All right,
That's for that. Phase two.
Yes, the water main replacement.
okay. And, so we're moving along on that. That's good, though. They were able to shorten it by a month there on that. And then the other, there's the, right, is the water line replacement there, which Brian is, okay. So Brian McCarthy is the contact person on that. Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the Aldrich and Elliott contract.
I'll make the motion that we approve the Aldrich and Elliott engineers contract.
I'll second.
Joe seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you all. Good evening.
Excuse me.
Right, Jason?
Okay, I believe Angie is up here.
Yep. I want to say that there's a little bit of a buffering going on, so if I cut out, I apologize. In front of you is our request for proposal from Twin State for basement ceiling. This is a 24-25 capital improvement project. We have the funds in our capital fund for this. It's $25,501. You may remember that about a year ago, when we were going through a grant application, we had contractors, architects look at our basement to see if we could use it for any part of the project, and it was deemed at that point really uninhabitable. And for those of you that have been to the library, you see that we have we don't use it any longer except for the mechanicals that are there. Water seeps in, so it's really an envelope issue for us. And we have found that Twin State is our preferred vendor. I believe Twin State also did the work at the community hall and comes very well regarded.
Yep. Okay.
Motion to approve the Twin State Basement Services contract presented by the library trustees.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Was there a double copy you said there? Or was-
I think you're good.
I'm gonna go back in here and somebody can make heads or tails.
Let me get this one.
All right. Okay, so that one's good. Now that was the Twin State. Now the Black Rock quote.
Right. We've been chasing someone to do the slate roof repairs for a couple of years now, and thanks to the work of the town and Lisa, we found a contractor that is fully licensed. You might remember we brought someone to you a few months ago that we found out in the process that they did not have workers' comp insurance. BlackRock Slate Company is fully insured, we understand, and the quote is $6,200 for replacement of about 12 or so slate tiles on our roof. And we'd like to get this done this year. While we still have the dollars sitting in our budget for it. It's $6,200 total for the quote.
Okay. And that's replacing how much?
About 12 to 15 tiles.
Over 15
Roughly.
tiles. Any other work being done there? That sounds a lot there per tile, but
There's a few dozen majorly broken or missing slates on the scope of work.
Yeah.
Black Rock.
So I think that's true. Thank you for pointing that out. That's true. They want to get up there and take a good look at it and to make sure that, and our assumption is that they are going to replace everything that's cracked. So I probably spoke in error when I said there were 12. There were 2 dozen roughly. Now, the other thing is that this is the group that did our drone, did the drone flyover inspection for us.
Yeah. Yep. So that 500 comes back?
Yep, that 500 comes back.
Okay. All right, super. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept to approve the Black Rock quote for the roof repair on the library.
I'll make such a motion.
Harry makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Blair seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. And then we have a grant application.
I'm so glad I'm occupying the meeting today. Yeah, that's right. This is a result again of our losing the basement really as our place for our book sales. And that book sale generates about almost $5,000 a year for us that hits our operating budget, and we use it for as part of the operating budget. The community hall has been gracious enough to provide space for us for a few years now, but we need to get it back on the property. We are not seeing the traffic that we once did. And so this would be a going through all the permitting process, of course, but be probably a 12 by 20 shed on the library property that would be, we'd have lighting, foundation, obviously. It would be insulated, but not heated, and used as our primary source for library book sale.
Okay, And
And that cost is, the grant request is for $10,000. And we believe that will cover everything, yes, through the Cabot grant. We've gotten a small grant from them before for computers a year ago, and feel pretty confident that we will have a good opportunity for this as well.
Okay, super. Well, with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to approve the grant application.
I'll make a motion to approve the application for a grant from the Virginia Wellington Cabot Foundation.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Joe seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank
Andy.
you. Thank you so much. Be
You're
well.
more than willing- You're more than willing to stay.
Good night. Take care, my
Good night.
friends.
All right, bye-bye.
Good night.
Okay, Public Works. The guys have been doing, I think, a stellar job. They're not gonna be here because they're probably taking a nap. I haven't heard any legitimate complaints. And I believe there that maybe with the exception of one other mailbox, I'm not sure. But I'll get with Tracy on that.
With 4-foot snowbanks on the side of every road in town, there's
That's
no
correct.
surprise that mailbox has been lost, and I will report that on my drive here, Bridge Road and a very troubling corner at Fifi where those drifts have been coming in hard. Both of those sections were wide open. That just shows how hard they've been working to keep ahead of things.
Okay. Super. Okay. Listers. Okay, Lisa, you're up.
The redetermination notice is just a letter, formal letter saying that they received our request and that somebody would be contacting us. I've already had that meeting, so now it's a little slow in catching up, but it's about that property that was
That we-
listed in the inflation study. I've sent now, this is the third time I've sent that PTTR that's missing to Montpelier. They still didn't get it the first 2 times, so they gave me a different address. So it's just a formal notice to you saying that it's in the works.
They don't have a fax machine or something. Or
Well, it has social security numbers. I don't know about a fax machine. They didn't give me a fax.
fax machine would be perfect for that.
They do have a copy of it because I had scanned it in and sent it to PVR. So she forwarded that copy, but it needs the social security number. So I don't know that. I'll try a fax. I think it gets fax.
Now, I will say that in the first week of February, at my office, South Hero, we received a batch of letters, many of which had been initially posted to our office in November. And
Wow.
stretching for months, a package of stuff that there's no explanation for. One of the letters, which was allegedly signed for and accepted by me. And then we received it 2 months later. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was some other issue that was preventing those letters getting to the state in a timely way.
We have to go back to the Pony Express.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, here's a big one. All right. Go ahead, Lisa there, Tyler Technologies.
So we had a proposal to do our reappraisal. We had did a second round of RFPs back in the fall. September actually, with a due date of February 12th, and this was the only one we received out of the 2 rounds of RFPs we sent out. Tyler Technologies is a Vermont approved appraisal firm. There is the binder that we got, which we chose not to give you all of 50 pages of.
Thank you.
gave you just the one page that had the price, the time frame, pretty much the. Right, the proposal.
Can we? Cause this is 2027,
Starting July 1st, 2026.
2026, ending 2027,
No,
and the state is looking at implementing that.
So the other document I sent you earlier in the week was about the redistricting and taking local control of the valuation process and doing it at a state level. And then like that date on that document was January 1st, 2027. So
Is when it'll take place,
if-
or potential.
if it, right,
If
if
it
it
goes
gets
through.
out of Ways and Means and into the legislature and passed, and there's a lot,
So we will have had ours already done.
well, we'll be in the middle of it.
no,
July 1st, 20 completion,
July.
7,
She said
Cool.
January 27th.
oh, January
We'll be
1st.
halfway through.
They're moving, according to that document, they would be moving that April 1st drop dead date that we all go by to January. They're gonna shift the whole. So it'd be a January 1st.
Tyler they must be, apprised of this.
Well, I'm gonna call and ask John. It's one of the
Okay.
questions I'm gonna ask. I also, for those who didn't hear earlier, I have a friend that's a lobbyist in Montpelier that I've reached out to. And he's gonna do some investigating this week to see if it's gonna get to the floor for a vote, what's the feeling, what are the positives, negatives. I'm trying to find some more information.
Okay,
The listers had a meeting today to discuss the proposal, and one of the concerns was, it requires a 15% deposit at the time of signing. If the state does come in and take over on that 2026, do we get that 15% back? Do we continue and finish out the reappraisal and then turn it over to the state? Those are all questions that,
Mhm.
yeah, that's kind of where I was going. with that.
Yes,
Is
so-
the-
yes, I'm gonna.
So we're not going to sign anything
No.
as of yet,
No,
so.
no, we wanted to, Kurt and I talked and thought, we wanted to give you a heads up that we received it. See if you had any questions. The listers have a bunch of questions that I'm gonna reach back out to Tyler about. And then bring it back to you when we're ready to move forward, once we have a lot of those answers.
yeah,
I don't think we're ready at all to sign it, but we have, it's good for 90 days.
Okay. So
So,
hopefully we'll know within that time frame. Yeah, that's really my only concern is that saying that we start getting into this and then if the state does their thing, now does the state just take our number there and then whack us even more?
well, that's
That's,
a good question.
so,
It's all to be.
okay,
yeah, I would guess a specific request from me would be that any proposed contract from Tyler include a specific, contract termination right that flows to the town based on pending legislation that says the parties hereby recognize and agree that thus and such is happening. And if, and in fact, it does occur, that we have the right to rescind the contract and receive back the initial deposit. And we may even request that because of it, Tyler Technologies, instead of having the start date be on January 1st, 2026, although it's aligned with our fiscal year, have their scope of work occur from 1/1/07 to, 12/31/07.
Yeah, given that, I mean, I'm sure this was based on what we currently have in place, because that would be right in line with filing of the grand list, and, it's based on that schedule, so I haven't talked to John yet, so I want to see
Yeah,
what his feeling is about the whole state thing, so.
it would be very unfortunate if we spend a significant amount of money only to have that work become essentially valueless.
right.
And also the money in the reappraisal fund could be returned to the town or reappropriated.
Probably gonna go to the state.
Yeah, the state would probably take it back, so they give us that money.
Not all
Although,
of it.
Okay.
Right.
from us, we've been putting $15,000 a year into it, knowing that.
Yep.
this was. But some of it is from the state, and I think one of the clauses or lines in that was that any money set aside for reappraisal was to go to that,
Oh, into the,
to that that district.
Okay.
so they get their money no matter what.
Money or just
Our,
I
our
don't know.
money, whatever.
Should have
Okay.
known.
Yeah,
Okay,
So, and I'm guessing we should have Mike Parent look at the contract?
well, if they can come up with that clause there that Harry was talking
Yeah.
about, just, it gives the town
Yeah,
the additional protection.
and I would agree that Mike would be the appropriate person to design that language, as an amendment to the proposed contract if Todd's open to it.
Perfect. Yeah, that would, yeah. Therefore, it doesn't need a review. He's already reviewed it. He sets
Right,
it up. and
so they negotiate the
and then
terms,
they
we've
have
got
to-
we've
right.
got a revised contract that comes back to us, we know it's been
Right.
overstamped by both sides.
Okay, super. Okay. Anything else on Tyler? Thank you. Here we go, benefit advisory services agreement, so we have AgriSure client services agreement. And we have the AgriSure EAA agreement. We postponed this last time because Claire was not here. She was enjoying herself in Maine. And, basically, I've had conversations there with Claire, with Lisa and Corinne. And we're looking at a cost here. Well, Claire, why don't you jump in on this? There's,
The cost is similar to our prior agreement. And what has happened is the Hickok and Damon, I guess, that bought out. And this is now a new company. And I think that we're happy with what they've done in the past. And I would recommend that we continue. But, and I'm just seeing this actually, but on page, let's see, page 14. And then looking on the next page, it's a business associate agreement, which is different. So for the AgriSure, on page 6 is where we signed for the contract. This business associate agreement, I know nothing about that part, and that also requires a signature. So until we find out about this other part, the business associate agreement, I would say maybe we hold off on that part and not sign it. And it says the covered entity is health plans of town of North Hero, and it looks like it deals with HIPAA.
okay, so we would like to get a determination on
On the business associate.
the
agreement.
BAA.
Yes,
But it appears to me that these may be tied together in one way or another, so.
could be, and that we need to find out.
Okay, so, is there any deadline on this? No,
No, but I'll reach out to Sally and
Okay,
get a clarification. on the-
okay,
yeah,
thank you, Lisa. Okay, so we'll put that off until maybe our next meeting. All right, okay. We good, Corinne?
Yep.
Okay. Passive lost control visit. So in front of us here, we don't know if we got a gold star, but we did very well. There are some things here that need to be addressed. And you wanna,
The report has been distributed to all of the departments and they know what needs to be addressed.
okay,
And I've asked Lisa to put it on the next water board agenda so that they're aware of what has to happen at the
All
water
right.
department.
I didn't see any high priority. I see medium and low. Okay.
It's like we get to the end of March that they would like to see a lot of it resolved.
And the majority. Of the really all. That's, well, hopefully those disappear.
There's a half a dozen or so at the treatment.
I
plant.
just signed, yeah. And it's, it's the garage.
So they can repair during the day. Very minor.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. I'll make sure there that public works. Gets that taken care of and that the water plant gets their stuff done and. Okay,
Yep, I spoke with Kevin about it. I was at the plant last Friday and, yeah.
he's all set.
Yep.
Okay. Super. Okay. Moving on. Corinne is going to inform us about this ADA and 504 compliance. So Corinne,
Yeah, so, last week, our representative from USDA helping us get our USDA grant for the water project came and did a compliance review. He is, what he did was review kind of the current status of the town in regard to policies and compliance. And he's going to make a list and create a 3-year transition plan. So the plan will be distributed to me about the end of March, and then we'll kind of know for sure what some of the big takeaways are.
when you say a 3-year transition period, what,
Well, taking federal money apparently means that we have to comply with a lot of federal requirements that we normally wouldn't have to.
right?
So for example, the ADA 504 compliance, a lot of these things you don't need to do if you have 50 or less employees, and we now need to do them. So, it was just a group, and I could send you the specifics if you want. It was like 8 pages of documents that were just prepared for a verbal interview in these areas. And we'll discuss where your town is currently at, and we'll make a plan for moving forward. His example, was, well, people pay their water bills at the town office, so your town office has to be handicap accessible. Say you didn't have a lift, we would require you to get a lift within 3 years. So I've heard, I've kind of looked around, and there are towns that have decided they don't want USDA grant money based on these. But I think North Hero is in a good position. I think for us, it's mostly going to be working through a series of policies and paperwork. Unfortunately, they're tied to the life of the project.
Right.
So we're putting in our water storage tank. So we will now just have another layer of administration in North Hero. So unless you guys want to talk otherwise with the water department. So,
Well, it's a sizable grant.
yeah, so,
I'd say
so,
there, if it's not that big a deal here to come into compliance there, then I think it's well worth it.
so last meeting I had brought to you 3 draft documents. And, because the LCT didn't have templates for them, I had worked with a volunteer to draft them ourselves. I recommended they go to Tarrant for review. He and I have gone back and forth a couple times. He needed more clarification on the grant and its requirements and what scope he was actually reviewing them in. And he hasn't been able to finish for this meeting. So I didn't even include them in your packet. I, working with VLCT did find, even though they don't have templates, they were able to give me some resources for other towns who have gone through this process. And I compared what we came up with to Middlebury. I really liked what they had done. And we were pretty much spot on except for like timing. So the 504 compliance grievance process the template had said within 180 days, submit your complaint. Middlebury said 60 days. And I like that better, so I wanted to talk to Taryn about that. So these are basically still in the works. I just don't want them to fall off the radar. I would really like to have them approved on March 3rd, just to kind of, the compliance review we had last week with the USDA consultant. He would prefer, since we're already in the works on these, to not include them as part of the 3-year transition plan. So he says, since you're really close, I'll hold off on finalizing that. We can just mark these as done and you'll have a lot less to do in your plan. Just made sense to me. So he's kind of waiting on that to get us through the step we're working on in the grant process. Well, that doesn't mean we shouldn't rush it. It's just if you guys have concerns, I should let him know and they'll just become part of the transition plan.
Yeah.
Should we appoint you as the?
I would recommend that.
Yeah,
The select board executive assistant role grows. Unless you want it to be somebody else. It'll get added to that job
no,
description
just
and,
want to make
okay.
sure that you're covered.
So that's what I'd recommend you do tonight, appoint the ADA coordinator and approve the ADA public notice, and I can begin doing some of the requirements for our website. While we continue to work on the grievance procedure, which is really what those 3 documents I showed you last week revolve around.
All right.
Make a motion to appoint Graham as the ADA coordinator, I should say. The select board executive assistant as the ADA coordinator, I don't know.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um.
You want a second?
Yeah,
Second.
I'll take a second. All right, any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of the executive, excuse me, the select board executive assistant being the ADA coordinator, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to approve the ADA public notice presented at this meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Joe seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Public notice, we got that, right? Adopt grievance procedure, ADA public notice. ADA transition plan. Did we just take care of that all?
we did.
Yeah,
Yeah, we did pretty good, didn't we?
okay. Appointment policy. Current appointment policy. Then we have a proposed appointment policy. So currently, the appointment policy is at the first select board meeting after town elections, the board acts to fill vacant town offices by appointment. At this time, town commissions, committees, and boards submit names of candidates to serve on their boards. Prior to submission of candidates to the select board, the commission, committee, or board will place a notice in a newspaper of general circulation in North Hero indicating an upcoming vacancy and soliciting applications for the position. This was signed by the select board in March 16th, 2009. We have a proposed, it says at the first regularly scheduled select board meeting following the March annual meeting, the select board acts to appoint appointed officials with terms ending in that year and fill any vacant elected position by appointment. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. Town commissions, committees, and boards will submit names of candidates to serve on their boards in advance of the select board meeting. By February 1st of each year, the select board will place a notice with information on potential vacancies and expiring terms in a publication of general circulation in North Hero.
I think it clarifies the timing of submission from the other boards with nominations for appointments. And it clarifies that vacant positions, but terms ending in that year, which is, I think, helpful. I'll make a motion.
Before you make the motion, where it says terms ending in that year, is that calendar year, fiscal year, doesn't matter?
It's terms ending in that year. It's a very good question. Which is why I've also included the current procedures that I use for the appointment process, because not all of them end at the same time. So you'll see that one of my steps is the first step, maybe not the first step.
The majority are taken care of in March.
Well, that's the goal. So I've contacted VLCT about this, and there's no requirement for when you can do appointments. And some boards do them all in October. They have different fiscal years. Some boards.
Okay, even
as
though
they're-
like, what
As
is
they
it?
come up, and then you have to keep track of, well, so-and-so was appointed in January and so-and-so was appointed in February, and so, and we have like 30 of these. So my goal has always been to try and get everybody on a cycle where they're following this appointment policy we already had, that isn't the clearest, but said in March, that we would try and get everything on that cycle. Some of them I've not been able to because they're state mandated, like the fire warden and the health
Health
officer.
officer,
um,
yeah.
But there's only a couple of those. So the procedures say that you should confirm all of the positions, what's ending in that year. All the ones that are in March should be advertised. Those that are off cycle, I put calendar reminders in. I've tried very hard, Claire, to make it so that it's like a one shot, and I haven't been able to do it. But this is why I get paid.
Okay,
But the process is open. This is a select board process. This is not an election process. So this is something you're directing me to do. The Carl actually asked me to clarify this after some confusion about putting notices in the Islander. Boards, if you literally read through the policy, every board was thinking we all need to put a notice in the Islander, which would be 11 boards spending $60 to do the same thing. So.
kind of wanted to blanket it.
I think it makes sense. I think the proposed revised policy is an improvement on the previous one. And if there is any confusion about whether a vacant or expiring position needs to be filled, I think a plain reading of the provision says in the year that the nomination is made. So if we look at a nomination being required before our first meeting after the general election, and that being the controlling year for submitting the application or the request for appointment, I think presumptively that would also require that the position being filled expires in that same year. If it's in the first quarter of the fiscal year beginning on July 1, it's still in the same year. If it is a calendar year appointment that begins in January, for some reason, then there's still the same year we're in. I think the only issue would be ensuring that there is a period during the beginning of the year where we have ensured that such positions are brought up in the year previous to when the term begins. If the term begins on January 1, it effectively expires on 12/31.
Sure.
So the board submitting a name for appointment needs to be looking ahead to that 1/1 start date of the new position and submitting us a name for review and consideration in March of the year preceding that date. if the new term would begin before March, our second meeting in March.
So do
I
you
don't
think the
know.
current terminology works?
It does for me,
Okay.
I think what this just requires is, if a board comes in and says, oh geez, this is this person has been working as a de facto appointee for 3 months. Then we say, hey, listen, next time this comes up, you need to get it to us to your proceedings, so you don't have a de facto nominee that's operating in this role without having received an official appointment from the select board. Hopefully that doesn't happen. We're lucky to have volunteers anywhere they show up, and
Yep.
I think the new policy makes sense to me, so I'll renew my motion here to approve the proposed Town of North Hero appointment policy.
I have one language question on that. In the very first line where it says at the end of the line, following the March annual meeting, since we don't have an annual meeting, should that be informational meeting?
We do have an annual meeting. That's the statutory term for what happens the first Tuesday in March. So it's colloquially called town meeting,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
because it's an election and not, and people confuse town meeting with the informational meeting, but we're
Yes.
actually making decisions on election day. It's not
Okay,
called,
so that's the board March annual meeting.
yeah,
Yes,
I completely agree. That's confusing. It confuses everybody, but I don't,
Okay,
I just started reverting to the statutory term, not knowing what else. Sometimes I do annual
Okay.
time. And then it kind of covers both, so I could add,
no, that's as long as people understand, I think that's fine. I will second as moved.
okay, so we have motion, a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. I'll be around tomorrow if there's anything I gotta sign here. That will
so
have to be,
I meant to,
this is the other thing here, so we're gonna adopt this actually the first day of, or the March meeting, correct?
okay,
Or are we?
so I guess what I had planned to do, and I'm not quite prepared for it, I had put terms ending in that year in italics. Because I had the same, I wasn't sure you guys would want to update that, and then I was gonna print it and have you all sign it. But I don't think this should be in effect for this process, because we've already advertised.
Right,
So maybe I can just bring it to the next meeting and we can all sign it.
okay.
Okay.
Works
All
for
right.
me.
Fine and dandy. Okay.
Yep.
Now, let's see here. Appointed position, posting notice. Okay, this is what is posted, right? This is the notice for the annual appointments.
That's the current one, and again, every time I show that to a board, they're confused. They don't, it's one of those trying to be one size fits all, where there are some appointments that only the select board make. Some appointments you want recommendations from other boards, some appointments that are off cycle. And so Carl and I worked on the other. So there's the current one, which is like trying to be everything under the sun and just ends up confusing people. And then the proposed is on the next page.
Yeah,
So the current one has already gone out. We're just looking at the whole standard format.
but this is the shorter version.
So for next year.
For next year there,
just
we can,
recommending some kind of boilerplate that says appointments are due, go to our website.
and I like it because it doesn't take up a whole lot of room.
It'd be cheaper.
Yeah,
That is, I think you're covering both bases by
Mhm.
directing people to the website and reminding them that they can certainly contact the town.
correct. You don't wanna, you want a motion there to adopt it?
Nope, this is just, we're changing the
Right.
policy. I wanted you
Really.
to see how the process may change along with it and make sure you're good with it. I mean, I'm doing the work, but it's your guys' name. You'll get the call if people aren't happy with it.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
All right. And then appointment notice procedures. Appointment notice process. Here, always kind of handle this. Okay. Now on to town meeting 2025. I take it that you all received your nice little email there instead of going through a whole bunch of pages. I had asked Lisa there just to send that to everyone, a snapshot there, whatever there.
There's a printed copy. If you all didn't
So
see
you
it.
want to see it?
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
and, I think with any questions there that may arise concerning any one of these articles here, we have a very good team. And I think that we'll be able to answer any and all questions. I have reservations there, whether or not I can answer them all properly.
Todd, going to be the moderator.
Yes, and Todd is also up for reelection, so, as moderator, so, yes. Okay. So any discussion on that? Harry, you're going through it.
No, I mean, I just wanted to remind myself that when we're scanning through it and looking at the bottom line number and.
When it comes to numbers, we leave that up to our associate here by the name of Lisa. And Lisa knows these numbers inside and out.
Well, I know she does.
So
Lisa's done a fantastic job and, we'll be ready, to field any other questions that need to be addressed.
Okay,
And I know you've made efforts to ensure that all the municipal subdivisions who have presented budgets to us are also here and are ready to answer questions about their own budget fluctuations.
yes, we have put out notice. Okay. Anything else, Lisa? No, Corinne? No? I'll entertain a motion there to recess the select board meeting and enter into liquor control board.
I'll make a motion to recess the select board meeting and enter into liquor control board.
At 6:02.
6:02.
Okay,
Second that motion.
all right, Harry seconds it. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed. Carries, we are now in liquor control board. I have asked Corinne to kind of synopsize this there when it comes to, or shrink it down so that we don't have a whole bunch of pages in front of us.
No,
And so we have 4 licenses here for Shore Acres.
There
Or
are
for,
printed copies right there if you'd
Yeah.
like.
if you'd like to see them, they're there. But that's Celtic 17 Hospitality LLC.
They
Uh,
did amend they had submitted all the applications and then they requested that I send them back. So I did, and they had amended I think their third class liquor license so that it now includes the farmhouse in addition to the hotel. So the farmhouse used to be where their manager lived, and I think they're renting it out now.
Oh, okay.
So, and I mean, it's a house, it's a full kitchen, so they're probably catering it. So just FYI, that is a little different.
That
That's yours.
That's the only change though,
Yeah.
from a substantive perspective.
Mhm.
I'll make a motion to approve the outside consumption permit for hotel, outside consumption permit Bravo Zulu, first class hotel and third class hotel liquor license applications presented by Celtic 17 Hospitality LLC.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Claire seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. So I need
Make
a
a motion to adjourn liquor control board and resume the regularly scheduled select board meeting at 6:05.
Okay, do I have a second? Joe seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. We have a very nice little letter here from Champlain Islands Food Shelf. Thank you. And I'm sure that you all have that in front of you, so, that was very, very nice. So now I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
All right, Claire makes a motion to adjourn, Harry seconds there, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 6:05 PM.
I'll take that back.
Thank you all very much.
Mhm.
Okay.
Hi, Tim.